Lucky you scanned all the tickets already. Thank you. Thank you. That's perfect.
You mind holding this for me? First. You have to check my bag.
If you find some cocaine in there, I'll share it with you.
What's your name on the ticket?
Which one?
This one. Sam?
I don't. No. That's. Yeah, that's not me.
What's
Yeah.
that name on the ticket?
I don't know, man. You gotta scan them all again.
Because I think some of them didn't go through. That's all.
Oh yeah, well, scan them again.
I just want to make sure that they go through.
We've got some safety announcements for everyone. If you don't mind giving me your attention for the next few minutes here. So you rest assured you're in good hands, but I'll still have you follow along, get the safety layout just like you would on a plane. So we'll start with life preservers. Life preservers are going to be located in the top deck and labeled bench seats. At the back of the top deck, you guys back there sitting on top of them. Tops of those seats pop right off, and they are full of life preservers for both adults and children. There's also placards for their use located there. On the lower deck, you're going to find life preservers on the back deck. Intact and secured stern lockers. We do ask that you not tamper with any of these, as they are only for emergency use. If you should see the need to use this equipment, we'll let you know over this loudspeaker system. And also, DR4 crew members looking kind of like me coming around to help you power that equipment. Additionally, we have 4 lifers aboard this boat. There's one by the life preservers on the back deck, 2 behind me, 1 on either side of the wheelhouse, and 1 on the foredeck all the way forward to the boat on the lower deck. These are only for crew use, so please do not tamper with them. But if you do see someone in our group fall off the boat, please yell man overboard, and our wonderful crew will get them out of the water. That being said, biggest reason you might fall off this boat is because you're standing on my seats. That's rule number 1. There is no standing on seats. It does not matter if you are 6 days old or 96 years old. I will yell at you because it's not safe. If you don't know anything about the Chicago River, you can Google that as to why you would not want to touch it. It's gross. You also don't want to fall out of the steel deck, which is filled with sand under the paint, which will grate you like a cheese grater, as it has me in the past. I would not recommend that. So if you want to have a good rest of your day, please keep your feet firmly on the deck or your butt in the seat. You are welcome to move about the boat, that's just fine. Always good idea to keep the hand out steady yourself though, just in case someone decides to come up at a high rate of speed and wake us out. But on the river we should be pretty much fine.
We're on the boat.
Alright, so we'll move on to emergency exit. There are 4 emergency exits aboard this boat. You get entered through 1 on the starboard side, across the deck on the port side, there's another one. And then you'll find 1 on either side of our climate control cabin on the lower deck. You can get to the lower deck from up here by our stairwells. At the back of the boat, there's 2 at the front. They are unidirectional. I don't know, or well, not unidirectional, bidirectional. People ask if they can go both ways on them. Yes, you can. I don't know why you wouldn't, but you can. So,
hello friends, how y'all doing? Woo, love that energy. Welcome aboard, ladies and gentlemen. We got that 90-minute river architecture tour. We're gonna see a lot, learn a lot, and there will be a test afterwards. Feel free to take some notes. We're going to jump into it very shortly. I want to take this brief moment to make my own personal announcement. I do ask that private conversations get taken downstairs. This is a courtesy to others listening to the tour. But full disclosure, guys, it is mostly about me. I am super easily distracted, so I would appreciate you guys accommodating me in that. Sound good? I will hold you to it. Alrighty, folks, let's jump into it. You ready? Let's do it. Let's begin off on our left-hand side. Let's begin by just taking in this beautiful view, guys. Take it in. What you folks are seeing is just a slice of our downtown area, but what you might be noticing here are multiple styles of architecture on display. This is true. And the reason Chicago is famous for its architecture is unfortunately a sad story. You see, the night of October 8th in the year 1871, we had the devastating Great Chicago Fire. This fire burned about 66% of our city to the ground. 17,000 buildings were destroyed, 100,000 people lost their homes, more than 250 people lost their lives. It was a tragedy. But it provided Chicago with a literal blank slate, and with that a chance to rebuild it bigger and better than ever, and we did just that. Did so with the help of three important inventions. First one was Elisha Otis's safety elevator. I'm sure most of us are pretty familiar with this one. Cities now went up. The second invention was the Bessemer process for rolling out steel. And I know we're all very familiar with the Bessemer process for rolling out steel. Do you actually know what that is? No, nobody knows what that is. Essentially, it was a refinement process that eventually led to the mass production of steel. That's how it became a popular building material. The third invention surrounds you today. It was the invention of the modern-day steel brick skyscraper, born here in Chicago in 1884. The very first steel brick skyscraper was the Home Insurance Building. Stood in the Loop neighborhood. It is no longer there, but when it was completed, it stood a whopping 10 stories tall. Which is not that tall, not by today's standards. Since then, skyscrapers live up to their names and literally scraping the skies, jump into it, off on your right-hand side, towering over the river here, and labeled for your convenience, we have Trump International Hotel and Tower. Title holder for the second tallest tower in the city of Chicago, clocking in at 1,388 feet. This 92-story building opened up in 2009, designed by Adrian Smith, the same designer for the tallest tower in the world, the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. Coming into view right behind that, the plain-looking black building is the former IBM building, today largely being occupied by the American Medical Association. We call it AMA Plaza. This building opened up in 1971, designed by Mies van der Rohe. He was a German architect who came to the city of Chicago in the 1930s, fleeing the rise of the Nazi Party. He brought with him this style of architecture, today known as the International style of design. It is famous for its simplicity. Notice little to no ornamentation, perfectly reflecting Mies van der Rohe's personal philosophy of less is more. Now, Mies van der Rohe was also a teacher in our city. He taught that international style and his less is more philosophy at the Illinois Institute of Technology. But not all of his students agreed with him. One student that disagreed was Bertrand Goldberg. Bertrand Goldberg then built right next door. He said, since there are no right angles in nature, there's going to be no right angles in my architecture. This is Marina City, or the corn cobs of the Midwest, if you will. They are famous for the two 60-story cylindrical towers, which together have 896 pizza-shaped apartments, referring to them starting out narrow and widening as you walk into them. Marina City opened up in the mid-1960s at a time when most people did not live downtown. They are designed conceptually to be a city within a city, designed to accommodate your potential lifestyle. They opened up with your apartment, parking garage, boat marina, restaurant, grocery store, bowling alley, 10-story office building, health club, radio station, bank, and even a theater, now called the House of Blues. So you guys can almost spend your entire life in that one city block. Alrighty, coming into view off on your right-hand side, you guys can see some people sitting outside enjoying a beautiful meal.
A lot of people died over there at that building. Yeah,
wave guys.
Went some hideaways and a lot of people
Yes,
died.
there's something very special about being on a boat, leading to a bunch of people not on boats.
Yeah,
We're having fun, and now they know it.
It's fun to talk about.
But they're having fun too. That is Portofino's Pizzeria. That's very good Italian. Above that, RPM Seafood. And above that, the American Bar Association building. Home, of course, to the American Bar Association, consisting of a bunch of lawyers.
So
not bartenders.
they got over there and they just fucking...
Learned that last year from a Willie Grace episode.
Yeah, a lot of
Actually, don't
people
laugh
say
at that. That's true.
that.
Up next on the right-hand side, 1914 by George Nimitz, we have the Reed Murdoch Center. Original red brick masonry and terracotta ornamentation. Back at the turn of the century, this is what was lining the Chicago River. Back at that time period, Chicago was a working city with a working river. It was largely industrial. It's one of the only ones still left. You guys will count 6 bays of windows to the right-hand side of that clock tower, but only 5 off to the left. The building was first designed and built symmetrically with 6 and 6, but the left-hand side had one of its bays fully removed. The building was then squished back together to make room for the widening of the South Street Bridge up above you right now. Up next on the right-hand side, we have 300 North LaSalle, Picard and Chilton, 2009. This glass tower stands 784 feet tall and it is LEED certified platinum. Now, LEED stands for Leadership in Environmental and Energy Design. It is a point system we use to measure the green standard of buildings, with platinum here being the highest certificate. Think of it like an Oscar for a building. Next door, we have a former coffee storage facility, now home to Kimball Furniture, the Chicago School of Professional Psychology, and up there on top, DIRT. Spelled with 2 T's. It's an acronym. It stands for Do It Right This Time. It's an interior design company focusing on problem solving and solutions, essentially to correct your bad design. That is a brown or purple line train interrupting my tour. It's a purple line train. We hate that. Up next on your right-hand side, folks, you guys are correct in your first assumptions. This building is big. This is Merchandise Mart, 1931, Graham Anderson, Probst and White. It is a great example of Art Deco. Notice an Indiana limestone facade, very strong vertical orientation, setbacks near the top and geometric shapes throughout. When this building opened up in 1931 at 4.1 million square feet, it was the largest concrete structure in the world. The Hoover Dam has less concrete than this building. The structure was first used as a way to consolidate 14 warehouses for Marshall Field. Opened up with 500 showrooms, had 8 miles of corridors, sits on a 5-acre plot, and up until the late 90s, that building had its own zip code. It was bought by the Kennedy family in 1945 for $16 million. The Kennedys resold that building around 1998 for $575 million. Yes, they call that a good investment. During that process, the Kennedy family also maintained developmental rights to the plot of land off on your right. They are now being developed. We have Wolf Point here. Wolf Point East right there is a 600-foot tall residential tower. Wolf Point West is behind the construction site. It is a 500-foot tall, also residential tower. The construction site itself is set to be an over 800-foot tall commercial building. They will call it Salesforce Tower, as Salesforce is set to be the primary tenants when the building opens up sometime around 2023. Now, Wolf Point here, not just known for the Kennedy family development, also known as a place where Chicago got her start. Back in the 1830s, our population was growing very quickly. The incoming population was moving right here to Wolf Point, where we had our first bridge across the river, ferries across the river, homes, businesses, churches, and of course, our first bars were right here as well. It's believed that in one of those bars, after a couple of shots, we raised a tankard of beer, called our city Chicago, a word we got from the indigenous word for the area, Chicago. Come later to learn they were not talking about the land. What they were talking about was a reference to the fragrant, smelly onions which grew wild along the shores of the river. 2020 hindsight should have skipped the shots. But as it stands today, folks, welcome to Chicago, the city of the big, smelly onions. I like that joke. I like that. Alrighty, folks, we are now on the North Branch 2 announcements. First and foremost, keep in mind from here on out, your attention will go on either end of the vessel. Look where I point, not where I say. Sometimes, usually, they don't match up. Number 2 is more of a disclaimer. I'm about to say the words luxury condos a lot, so buckle up. Off on your left-hand side, we have James Stefano and Associates early 2000s residences at River Bend. There is a bend in the facade to follow the bend of the Chicago River with townhomes, parking garage, and of course, luxury condos. All the condos in this building are on the side you guys can see. The far end is just the corridor. It was built on a thin plot of land. The best views were on this side. Next door, 1908 Fulton House by Frank Abbott. This is a former cold storage facility. The walls of this red brick building are about 2.5 feet thick. During the early 80s, Harry Reid took over this project to turn it into these luxury condos. He began that project by waiting a full year and a half for that building to completely fall out. Harry Weiss then built right next door, always a fan favorite, 1988, the River Cottages. They are 4 in number, 2 are 5 stories, 2 are 4 stories, and notice a heavy nautical theme. Triangle shapes like sails, portholes, even the railings on that spiral staircase looks like it was taken right off the ship. Harry Weiss loves sailing on Lake Michigan. You're going to find nautical elements are very common in his designs. Up next, right-hand side, 1973, Gordon and Levin, we have here the East Bank Club. It is a very large and rather intimidating looking building. But keep in mind, back in 1973, this river was capital D disgusting. Everyone wave to Derek. Hi Derek, we love Derek. So you make friends here on the Chicago River. You're bonded. Crap, where was I? Told you, easily distracted. I see somebody I know and it's off rails. Thank you, disgusting. The river was capital D disgusting. Nobody wanted to live on it, look at it, or smell it. So this building is designed to have its back to the river. The trees, ivy, walkway planters, even the windows in this facade were not elements of its original design. They were added in years later once we cleaned up the Chicago River. This is a high-end fitness facility. They have everything you guys could possibly need to stay physically fit. Rooftop pool, indoor running track, indoor tennis courts, volleyball courts, basketball courts, locker rooms, juice bars, and I believe they also have motivation. Thank you. They have held their very fair share of celebrities, including former Mayor Rahm Emanuel, former President Barack Obama, Oprah Winfrey, and Michael Jordan all at one time called the East Bank Club their fitness home. I know, that is cool. It's quite the list. Up next in your left-hand side, 2002, Papa George and Haynes, we have Kingsley Park, development consisting of a low-rise, a high-rise, and 70 of these European-style townhomes. Take note, they each come with their own patio, balcony, and rooftop, because you're worth it. During the early 2000s, the townhomes hit the market for over $1 million each. It was a gamble. They opened up a model home to see if people would want them, and they did. All 70 townhomes had a down payment on them before that development even broke ground. This told Chicago, embrace the river. We did. This is how. Off on your right-hand side, 1909, the Riverbank Lofts. Great example of adaptive reuse. A fun, long-awaited way for saying we changed the purpose of the structure. It used to be the wall.
It's an old dock. It broke. Look, it's a bat cave. Hey, look, you see, a bat cave, you know, it was over there, and then it ends up right here, you see?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be so glad if I guys David, what's up?
Right.
Man, David blocking the whole entire staircase.
Hell yeah. I paid. I'm gonna enjoy the whole trip.
In the rain.
Yeah.
In the rain.
Yeah, well, that's
this make you want to go on a cruise?